All right, y'all. So this morning we're gonna come from John chapter 5, where Jesus tells a disabled man to take up his bed and walk. Right? Jesus tell a man that has an infirmity to take up your bed and walk. Now we're gonna do what's called a esoteric hermeneutical interpretation. Esoteric means we're gonna look behind the physical. We're gonna look behind the symbols, because everything in the Bible is symbolic, it's metaphoric. So we're going to get deeper, and we're going to extract the real essence of what's being said. So Jesus tells a handicapped man, take up your bed and walk. Rise up, take up thy bed and walk. Now, a little backdrop, some context. The man was sitting by a pool, right? And the waters, this area was called Bethsaida. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Bethsaida. But Bethsaida in Hebrew means house of mercy, house of healing. So he was sitting by this pool, and pool is the pool in this context, again, esoterically, the pool is water, right? Water represents purifying, cleansing. It also represents vital energy, water, right? So water is it represents purifying, cleansing, healing. That's why it's called Bethsaida. Bethsaida, again, is house of mercy, house of healing. So when you read the text and you see Bethsaida, when you see pool, you know it's talking about house of healing and purification. So this is esoteric. We're getting into the science here, right? So the man is sitting in this area. Now, he was by what's called the sheep gate. Sheep in this context represents your natural self, your innocent self. A sheep has sheeps are harmless. They're extremely harmless. They don't think at all for themselves. That's why they need a shepherd. All a sheep wants to know is, where is the food, right? Where can we find water? And we'll follow you. They ask no questions. They're just very monotone, right? So it says he was sitting by the water in Bethsaida at the sheep gate. Now, we know what a gate is, right? We're breaking everything down esoterically. So we know what the sheep symbolizes, right? Your innocence, your natural self. And the gate. Now, if you have a house and you have a gate around your house, a gate is a limitation or a restriction or some kind of protection, right? You have a dog and you have a house, you have a gate around that house to protect the passersby from the dog or protect the dog from the passersby, either way. But a gate symbolizes some kind of restriction or some kind of protection or a lock, right? Because if you say lock the gate, you're closing the gate. So you're closing off something. You're closing something off from something. So a gate represents some kind of restriction, right? Or some kind of confinement. So he's sitting by the pool, sheep gate. We broke all of that down. And it says there were five porches. Now this is where it gets interesting. The 5 porches represents your 5 base sensory system, which in essence is your limitations. So you have a man that is somewhat disabled. So the man in this context, the man who has a disability, it talks about his disability. But what does that, again, esoterically, the man's disability is nothing more, nothing less than you and I, right? Our mental disability, our the mind. The man represents the mind, because the word man comes from mens. Mens come from Latin. Latin mens means mind, or things pertaining to the mind. So the man being disabled here for 38 years. The Bible says for 38 years he had this disability. So the 38 years just means a very long time in this esoteric interpretation, hermeneutical interpretation. It just simply means for a very long time he was stuck in a mindset that is a dysfunctional mindset. That's what the disabled man represents. A dysfunctional mindset. A mindset that is impaired. A mindset that is impotent. A mindset that is disturbed, perturbed. A mindset that is not functioning as it should spiritually, right? So I'm showing you the symbolism of this whole thing. So the 5 porches again represents our 5 base sensory system. Our 5 base sensory system represents our limitations, our 5 base sense limits and limitations, because the 5 base sensory system is limited to the 3-dimensional realm in which we exist, because we exist in 3D, 3 dimensions, right? There's other dimensions, but these 5 base sensory systems can only interact with mass and matter, specifically sight, you see, sound, you hear, taste, touch, all of that, your sight, your smell, your taste, your touch, your hearing. Those are all limited to the physical realm in which we exist. So when you break down the scripture, you're seeing a mindset that how many of us today have been stuck in a mindset, right? A mindset that is restricted by its own 5 base sensory system. If you're living and moving only based off your 5 base sensory system, that means you are restricting your you are confined by the gate. You are the sheep, right? At the sheep gate, but here's the thing, you are sitting near the pool of Bethesda, which means, again, the pool represents which is water, which represents purifying and cleaning, and you're sitting right there for so long. So long you've been in this position, but right next to you is the healing, the house of mercy. Bethsaida means the house of mercy in Hebrew. So Jesus now comes, now that's the backdrop. So Jesus comes to the man, and the man explains to him, listen, the waters get troubled. Again, the waters represents purifying, cleansing. The angel passes by seasonally and troubles the waters, again, esoterically. When waters ebb and flow, comes in, comes out, that's called waves, right? And if you study science, you understand that everything is vibrational. Everything vibrates. And we have waves. Right now, your brain has what's called, the brain waves, right? The EEG, electroencephalograph, which are 4 states of brain waves that we fluctuate throughout our days. So the waters being troubled just simply means the Spirit of God is changing the state of the waves, right? Because water represents waves with purity. So the different, and here's the essence. Troubled waters, the angels coming down to trouble the water, is esoterically God's presence, God's I am presence, changing the state of the waves. That's what the troubled waters mean, changing the state of the waves. And the waves are electromagnetic frequencies. So we're getting heavy with it. So here's the thing. Jesus says to him, rise up, right? Take up thy bed and walk. Now let's esoterically break that down. The bed, let's start with the bed first. The bed simply means whatever it is for 30 odd years that has been holding you down. Rise up. Rise up can be translated pick up. Pick up can be translated level up. That can be translated raise your frequencies, elevate, appreciate, anything upward, onward, get up, rise up. What that means is this. The bed symbolizes whatever's holding you down. So let's make this practical. Say you are a person suffering from depression. So you're suffering from depression for some-odd years. You're going to therapy. You're going to doctors, for the head doctors, shrinks. You got all kind of pills they got you taking. So for all these years, you're battling this depression. What Jesus is saying is rise up, take up your bed, right? And the bed, again, is symbolic of whatever it is that's holding you down. How does that look? Well, for instance, again, real life situation, depression, that so many people struggle with. Depression is the bed in this parable, right? Or this allegory or metaphor. The bed represents, I'm using depression. The bed represents depression. And that's what you've been laying down on. That's what's been holding you down. Rise up, take up, go up. Depression, at the opposite spectrum of depression, is happiness. Right? Because you got to remember, there is no duality, even though we're taught that there's duality, and for all intents and purposes, there is a duality, polarity, right? But in in esoteric science, you understand, again, esoteric simply means behind what you're taught, behind the deeper meanings that's been hidden and in coded language, right? Esoterically speaking, the bed of depression, right, is only the lower end of the same spectrum of joy, of happiness, of strength, vitality, life force, prana, vigor, robust energy, right? Depression, this is depression, is here, right? Or this is depression. Depression is here, excuse me. Depression is here. This, on the same spectrum, if you rise depression up and you keep raising it up, you get joy. When you reach here, this is called enlightenment. This is joy. If you lower joy, lower, at the opposite end of that spectrum is depression. When Jesus says rise up, I know y'all see where I'm going. Rise up. You see what's happening, right? I'm rising up. All Jesus is telling the man to do is to raise your vibrational frequency. What does that mean in simple term? Go from one state, depression, to the other state, joy. Rise up. How do you do that practically? Let's say you live in New York, like we do now, like I do now, and I want to go to Florida. For whatever reasons, I don't like what's in the state of New York. The conditions in New York, I don't like. And again, in this analogy, New York, the conditions represents the lower vibration of depression. Florida represents the same spectrum, but the opposite end, which is joy, which is happiness, which is healthiness, which is financial prosperity, right? I'm prosperous here. I'm impoverished here, depression. New York, Florida. I pack my bags. I book my ticket. I do whatever I got to do, and I leave the state of New York. I'm leaving the state of New York, and I'm going to Florida. It's that simple. You have 50 states. At any moment, whatever, you can get up and leave whatever, Chicago, Texas, Arizona. You could leave in California. You could simply travel and traverse to other states. That is a practical application of how you change your state. And now, even more practical application, you change your state with your words. When Jesus says, rise up, take up thy bed and walk, raise your vibration. Take up your bed of depression. Take it up until you reach into a bed of prosperity. Let that bed now become a bed of joy, happiness, health, and money, right? So now you're changing your state, literally changing your state. And that's what Jesus was telling him. Rise up, take up your bed, and walk. And esoterically, walk now means you exist on a higher plane of state of con. And the way you do it, again, just another very quick, another practical way. You use the word, your words. In the book of Psalms, it says, let a guard stand by my lips, and and keep watch over the words of my mouth. I'm paraphrasing. The reason why the psalmist asked God to stand guard at his lips and watch the doors of his mouth is because the words that you're speaking every single day, what you're doing, unknown, right? Unbeknownst to you, unconsciously, subconsciously, you're casting a spell over your life. You are casting a spell over your life every day with every single word you speak. There is something called delayed reaction, or delayed satisfaction, delayed gratification. And that simply means the words you're speaking today, they don't show up right away. 4 or 5 years hence, 2, 3 years, 2, 3, 4 months hence, your life is in a predicament and you're wondering what happened, how did this happen? You created it with the very words you speak over your life. And speaking don't mean speaking audibly with your mouth only. It means your inner self conversations, the things you're saying to yourself, about yourself, around yourself, the inner arguments that you're having, the conflicts that you're having in terms of inner dialogue is creating your reality every single day. But it's delayed. And the reason why your thoughts or their inner conversations are delayed and they don't show up instantaneously is because we exist in a state of matter. We exist in matter, which is a dense plane. It is the densest plane of all the planes, and therefore manifestation takes longer to manifest. Hence why your thoughts don't show up instantly. But they show up delayed. They're delayed. Their outcomes are delayed. And when they show up, you blame it on everything else because you're not aware of your inner dialogue, the power of your inner dialogue. So, yeah, I got to get out of here. Peace.